Okay, guys, so welcome to this chat with Longwood Small Business Development Center. I am here with a small panel to discuss business solutions given the ongoing COVID-19 crisis happening here in the United States. Sheri McGuire is the one who coordinated this call, and so I'll let her introduce herself first and talk a little bit about what SBDC does and how they're responding to the crisis, and we'll have everyone on the call introduce themselves.
Sure. Thank you, Ilsa. I'm Sheri McGuire, and I'm the director of the Small Business Development Center here at Longwood University. And we have a website that we'd encourage businesses to visit to get resources and information on SBA loans, which I'm going to talk about briefly in a moment. The Small Business Development Center website is sbdc-longwood.com. The Small Business Development Center provides consulting resources through partnerships with the university and our local governments and the Small Business Administration. Our goal is to help businesses plan, to help them raise capital, make investments, and in cases like this, develop strategies to get through it, if at all possible. So we're trying to put together a good list of resources for you all to use during this time.
Very good. We also have on the call Jenn Kinne. Can you introduce yourself, Jenn?
Hi, I'm Jenn Kinne from the Farmville Area Chamber of Commerce, and probably the best place to get information from the Farmville Chamber during this time would be the new Facebook group that we started, the Farmville Area COVID-19 Resource Group.
Excellent. Thank you, Jenn. Chelsey, can you introduce yourself to us?
Yes, my name is Chelsey White, and I'm the program manager for Farmville Downtown Partnership. We're a nonprofit that focuses on downtown revitalization and historic preservation in Farmville. We also are partnering with the Chamber on that Facebook group, so that's a great way to stay abreast of the resources that we'll provide, as well as our Downtown Merchants Facebook group, which is just for the downtown merchants that are within our downtown district.
Fantastic. Thank you, Chelsey. Mindy Flanagan is also on the call with us. Mindy, take it away.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for including me in this group. No, I'm not on video because it's been that kind of day. Just trust me when I tell you you don't want to visually see me, but I hope I make up for that with words, advice, and some helpful information. Inspiring HR focuses on simplifying HR for small businesses in a way that it can make an immediate impact and provide them quick answers and solutions to their everyday HR challenges. And I look forward to hearing everybody's thoughts and questions on where the HR interpretation of this COVID-19 emergency response can be helpful. Some of you have shared where to find the most helpful information. Inspiring HR has an announcements page, inspiringhr.com/announcements, where you can subscribe for quick updates on what's going on in the HR space for small businesses in response to this crisis.
Yeah, Mindy has done some consulting work in the past with Longwood SBDC, and I am one of her clients with my small business. And so when we saw one of her announcements go out, I think it was early this morning, about legislation that was passed yesterday that had some quick tips and guidelines, we knew she was a perfect person for this call. So I'd highly recommend that resource and updates page you mentioned. Well,
thank you for that endorsement.
Of course. No, it's critical. We realize that information and everything is moving really fast. So we want to kind of share this video. We're recording it and putting it up the same day, with the caveat that we're all speaking to the best of the knowledge we have at the moment, but we realize everything is changing quickly too. So I am an SBDC consultant myself. I do marketing classes through SBDC, and I work one-on-one with clients through the SBDC, as well as being a small business owner myself. I'm Letterpress Communications, which is a boutique marketing firm here in Farmville, Virginia. So the agenda for this call is to first have Sheri talk about what she knows so far about SBA loans and the paperwork and all the things that are required and what recommendations she's currently making to businesses looking to pursue those. We are then going to have Mindy talk about HR and the HR, human resources and employee ramifications around COVID-19. And we'll even have some example kind of businesses for her to discuss what implications could mean for them. And then we have Jennifer and Chelsey here to talk about resourceful ideas and things that businesses are doing in response to COVID-19 to survive and innovate during this time, even what their organizations are doing to support them. And I will also share a little bit about some guidance around communications in general, especially now that COVID-19 has become something that we know we're going to have to live with for a little while. So now that we're going from crisis mode to like it's here for a while mode, how do we think about our communications going forward? So I will let Sheri McGuire take it away.
Sure. Thank you. So the SBA has a direct website link for their disaster loan applications. The important thing to know is Virginia is on the list now. There have been lots of emails that have been circulating lately telling everyone to contact the congressman and make sure Virginia gets the official declaration as a disaster area for purposes of this loan. That has happened. Virginia is there. There is an online portal that the SBDC our employees have been trained to help you navigate, and the paperwork is also there to download. What I would recommend is you can access this page. You go through our SBDC page at sbdc-longwood.com or directly through the SBA. My advice to you would be to try to print out the documents that you will be uploading electronically. You can enter information directly, but I think downloading and looking at those forms before you begin your process of putting information in will help you prepare in more detail. Financial records are very, very important. If you have filed your 2019 tax returns, you will need to upload those. If you have not filed those 2019 tax returns, you will need at least an income statement, both for 2019 and year-to-date 2020. So have those ready. Be sure to work on your personal financial statement. There's a form that's there for that. We can help you decipher some of the terminology if you need help with that. They have made the process easier than it has been in the past. If you have the information there in front of you that you need on these forms, it should be very easy to put it into the system and get in the queue. It's very important to have everything you need to upload there when you do it, because once you upload that application into the cycle, if you have to go back and add to that application, it puts you again at the rear of the line. So make sure to have all of your application materials handy and be able to input them with that session so that you get in early and correctly. So those are the most important things. Also, there's a form in there for monthly sales and expenses over the last year, Form 1368. That's absolutely critical. It's not on the necessary forms that they say you need right now, but I would recommend going ahead and doing that and uploading it, because it's in that list of things they may ask you for. Go ahead and do it. And again, go to our links, call us if you have questions, email us. We're happy to help.
Is there any kind of information you'll have about the size of these loans and also the length of time that it might take to get the money, or once you apply, or once your application is accepted?
Yeah. So they're offering signature loans, which means up to $25,000. You do not need collateral to be approved for those. These are loans directly from the SBA, so you're not going with the bank in between. So signature loans up to $25,000. Over $25,000, they will require some type of collateral. It does not have to be real estate. It will be whatever is available to them. They will consider, equipment and machinery or some other asset. A thing to remember is if you have home equity, you might be expected to pledge that as well. So I know some people try to avoid that, but that is one of the SBA's requirements. So the approval process is stated at the moment to be 21 days. That could change. This is unprecedented. It's a nationwide program. So I would expect that, that is an estimate. After that, then you have to go through the closing process. So it's not going to be an immediate infusion of cash for you. I have made a list of some things I would consider if you are in desperate need of cash now. One is to call your bank, the banks that you have existing loans with, to make sure that they understand the situation. A lot of banks are coming forward with some help, with some extension of deadlines, and not requiring you to pay for a couple months. Some banks are doing that, and it helps to check on that. Also, there are all kinds of little grant programs and loan programs that are popping up. We'll try to populate our resources with those as we hear about them. But organizations like Facebook and Kiva, KIVA, are doing loan programs as well. Also, consider negotiating with your landlord for immediate cash help.
Excellent. Thank you, Sheri. I appreciate you sharing that. Does anyone in the group have any questions that they've heard business owners ask about SBA loans that Sheri might be able to help answer? Oh, good. Excellent. Very good.
Sheri, can you talk a little bit about, you mentioned earlier the difference between the SBA loans versus the stimulus package, because I have had some customers that I think are confused if that's one thing or two things. And
Right. We had an email from someone that was confused about that as well earlier today. The stimulus package that was just approved is something Mindy's going to talk about. It has to do with how employees are managed through this time, and the resulting tax credits that are coming for hard times, keeping employees on the payroll. That is totally different from the SBA loan program. The SBA loan program, as far as I know, does not intersect with the stimulus package. It's in addition to. So it's again a direct loan from the business administration to the business owner, regardless of employees or the tax situation.
Excellent. That's a great question, Jen. Thank you.
the stimulus package would be more of like a grant that you don't have to pay back. Is that correct?
No, it's a tax credit. Well, as a tax credit, that means you're not going to even see benefit for it.
Okay.
You're doing your taxes, or as far as what your what is it called?
Right.
Your prepayments for your taxes might change or something, but it's not even. Yeah, it's mainly an impact there. It's not going to be money that businesses are just getting in their pocket.
Well, it might help for me to chime in right now just to kind of bridge the gap here. One of the questions that we're getting and we're trying to help businesses understand is if you're trying to keep employees, if you're open and operating, even at reduced staff, and that reduced staff, some element of becomes eligible leave, you have to keep records of what you paid out to those individuals. And that ties to what kind of economic relief you can get in the form of a tax credit. But that tax credit won't apply until the next time you quarterly file. So this would link to lending. If you need a hold me over or tide me over monies to actually pay these employees paid family leave or paid sick leave, because you're eventually going to get a credit on your next quarter's taxes, that would be a good consideration as to whether or not you needed, say, that $25,000 loan from the SBA to kind of tide you over.
Mindy, you broke out for a second. You were saying if you're trying to stay open and you have employees, and I missed the last half of that sentence, if you could repeat it.
If you are not, I could say that there's a lot of different buckets to consider here on all of this. So let me just start there.
Yeah.
Do you want me to introduce myself?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. My name is Mindy Flanagan. I'm the owner of Inspiring HR. We are a small business HR consulting practice that originated in the Central Virginia area back in 2008. Our specialty is taking what looks to be complicated in the HR space and drilling it down to the simple through our vision of HR done differently. In other words, we help small business owners understand HR decision-making in plain English as best we can. So simplistic is a way to have HR add value to any business of any size, but our focus again is those small businesses, generally companies with 50 or fewer employees. So because the coronavirus and this Family First Act directly affects our target client, we have been diligently studying the passage of this Families First Corona Response Act over the last couple of days. So I want to use this time to kind of speak off the top of my head of the different ways we're sorting out all of this information. And then I'll go a little bit more into the details of the act itself, so all those small businesses that are listening out there can understand some of the decisions they may have to make in front of them. So we've really seen this as 3 buckets of consideration. Either you're a business that is temporarily, or we hope not permanently closing, and you're displacing all of your employees, then forget about families first for the most part, because what you're facing is, what am I going to tell my employees about collecting unemployment? So there are some federal unemployment provisions that were provided for in Family First, but I want to set that aside just for a moment. If you're going to remain open with, say, a limited staff, or you remain opening and keeping people employed the best you can, but your revenue is taking a hit, yet you need to keep people employed with full or partial staff, and it could be at reduced hours, how do the provisions within the Families First Act play into this? So again, 3 buckets. Either you're closing completely for an extended period of time, we hope not permanently, that's unemployment. So now you need to worry about, what do I need to know in terms of unemployment claims filings, and how do I help my displaced workers? That's one bucket. The second bucket is, I'm temporarily reducing hours, or I'm laying off only a portion of my staff. For the employees that I keep on payroll, if they get sick or they need to care for someone that's sick, then you're looking at the paid family leave and the paid sick leave provisions in the Families First bill. If you are open and operating, and again, you don't have anybody that's sick, nobody needs to care for anyone that's sick, that's great. But if you're temporarily laying off people or reducing hours, we're getting questions, can they apply for partial unemployment benefits? And the answer is yes, as a part of the unemployment provisions that are embedded in this Families First bill. So I want to start with the 2 key points within Families First that apply in terms of paid sick leave and paid family leave. We were just talking about this. So some highlights. This all becomes effective April 2nd, 15 days from the date it was passed, and it expires on 12/31. What I'm explaining to you is for companies with 500 or fewer employees. If you're 501 or more, sorry, you're on your own for now. What this has built out is an entitlement to employers to a refundable tax credit equal to 100% of what they pay out for qualified sick leave or qualified paid family leave as a tax credit the next time you have to file on a quarterly basis. I have no idea how all of this is going to work. This is going to play into what kind of HR knowledge you have, how you handle employee requests for paid sick leave or paid family leave, how you categorize that in your payroll and accounting systems, and then making sure whoever handles your quarterly and annual filings has that documentation in hand to make sure you get the appropriate credit. Because one of the provisions I saw is, while there is a limit of the total tax credit in the grand scheme of things, I have seen language that indicates that employers will be reimbursed if the cost for paying out qualified sick leave or qualified family leave exceeds the wages or the taxes they would owe in any given quarter. So just keep that in mind. Companies that are able to stretch it and pay out for paid family leave and paid sick leave may find that the government is going to say, you don't owe tax, and by the way, we owe you more money back because you actually paid out more in paid sick leave and paid family leave than you even owed in taxes. So just kind of keep that in mind as a lingering provision to pay attention to on the accounting side of things. So again, the 2 provisions within are federal paid sick leave and an emergency expansion of paid family leave. For emergency paid sick leave, you don't have to have worked for a certain period of time to get it. And they can take emergency paid sick leave if they are unable to work or telework, because generally, I don't want to go over all 6 provisions, they are sick. They are sick and they can't report to work because of COVID-19. So that's the emergency paid sick leave. Then there's an emergency family and medical leave expansion. And to get job protected, paid emergency family medical leave, you have to have worked for that company for 30 days prior. And if you're unable to work or telework, You're going to get emergency paid family and medical leave to care for your child if the child's school or place of care is closed and unable to operate due to the public health emergency. And the length of the leave is 12 weeks. The first 10 days of the leave is unpaid. After that, if you still need job protected paid emergency family leave, it's on the employer to pay you the equivalent of 2/3 of their regular rate of pay, up to $200 per day. That's the best I can tell you about as it stands right now with emergency paid sick leave and emergency family leave. I don't want to go too far into the weeds because there's a lot of layers to this, like anything that gets rolled out from the federal government. The other thing that we have not touched on in any of the announcements that have come out from Inspiring HR has to do with the portion of the Families First Act that ties to the expansion of federal unemployment benefits. The way this is supposed to be rolled out, and this is really fluid right now because you're talking about monies at the federal level that are supposed to flow down to the state level to fund unemployment claims related to an inability to work because of COVID-19, mostly because the business you worked for temporarily laid you off or they closed. So I know Virginia has not caught up on this yet. I'm hoping that they will, but I can tell you what some of the other states are doing. Georgia has actually issued a process by which the employer, who we hope remained open or can still respond, certifies every week that they remain closed or at essential staff only because of COVID-19. So that employer, through use of a filing docket that ties to their federal identification number, they recertify at the beginning of every week that yes, these employees are still eligible to collect. These states are in essence, in following a process like that, creating a lane of unemployment claims to be charged against the federal monies they're receiving for this and not against the existing businesses' individual state unemployment accounts. Because this really should be funded completely differently from the way traditional unemployment claims are filed. Now, a word of warning, the unemployment systems have been completely overwhelmed the last couple of days. If you've got employees who have tried to file online and it crashes, just tell them to keep trying. I know VEC is trying to keep their website up and running as best they can. One of the things that has disappointed me with VEC so far, and I'm hoping that they will send out current information about this, there's a Q&A link on the VEC website about claims related to coronavirus. Right now, it doesn't say anything linked to the coronavirus legislation that leads me to believe they are absolutely waiving waiting periods, or that they're rethinking the $378 maximum per week because they're getting all of this additional money from the federal government to fund this. I don't know, and I still don't know, if the VEC for COVID-related unemployment claims is going to lift that $378 a week maximum up to 26 weeks. I mean, if we have to create a separate lane for unemployment claims that are funded by the federal government, I don't know if the same typical how do we calculate your benefits rules will apply. I'm waiting to try and get my hands on a good contact at VEC to get more clarification on what the state's plans are for this. But so far, the last I'm seeing on the VEC site about unemployment claims related to COVID in the state of Virginia, at face value, it hasn't been updated in the last 5 days, and it looks as though they haven't created this separate lane of how to calculate who can be paid out benefits when and what the maximum is. So that's still fairly fluid.
Mindy, that's a mouthful. You covered a lot, but it's very, very beneficial.
I have been studying for 72 hours straight.
I know Sheri gets asked questions of employment sometime. I was wondering if maybe she could give you a hypothetical for a business that's like a hypothetical question a business might ask her, and how you would think through that question for that business. Sheri,
okay.
Do you have a business you want to share?
Sure. It might be a little bit more on the legal side of things,
okay.
But we had a person operating a cleaning business that is concerned about her employees having to go into individual homes at this point to conduct the cleaning services, and how does she protect them, and can she require that they do their job?
So I don't pretend to be an attorney, nor do I pretend to be the governor of the state of Virginia. But whenever there's a hard decision to make and there's any element of gray, I try to say, what would a reasonable, sound-minded person do? And sometimes it's a business responsibility mixed with our own civic responsibility. And all I can tell you at this point, unless something's changed and no one's told me, until we are on full lockdown, based on the situation you've just described, she can still provide cleaning services. And I don't want to tell any business to stop operating. But if you're looking out in terms of your civic responsibility to minimize the spread of this disease, and you have concerns about the safety of your employees, if I can afford it, I would not send them into those homes. So there's a lot of variables to consider. I can't give you a for sure on what she needs to do, because as last I checked, I don't think we have a solid mandate that we're not a shelter in place state yet. And I don't know, I think, and somebody else could remind me, I don't know if the governor has, I know he's suggested, but I don't know if it's yet gotten the level of required in terms of no more than 10 people congregating in an individual area at one time. And if you're sending an employee into a home where there may be 9 other people there because no one's going to school or work, then you kind of got to take that into consideration as well.
Yeah, unprecedented times for sure.
Yep.
Excellent. Mindy, that's been very helpful. Does anyone else have a question around this that they've heard from one of their business contacts, or they might have, that Mindy could help us think how to think through that question?
Either Mindy or Sheri, I don't know if either one of you can speak to this, but I did have a client talk to me a little bit about insurance, that insurance will cover state of emergency, but has a disclaimer in it that doesn't cover viruses. But if your business is shutting down because of what's happening, nobody in your business actually has the virus, how can you kind of get around that to file your insurance claims?
What type of insurance? What type of insurance, Jennifer? Are we talking about a business insurance, or are we talking about personal health insurance?
No, it would be like businesses trying to file a claim for loss. And somebody actually sent one, and it had circled like a virus is not considered. And then they said, well, the virus isn't really what closed us. It's the people not coming in because of the scare. They're scared of the virus.
So I think what this reminds me of is, like, I know we have business continuity insurance as part of our overall business insurance package, but I've seen people claiming this already, that there's some act of God provision in there that pretty much makes it like almost impossible to collect. And I've seen some businesses argue that a pandemic is not an act of God, which I think is a little bit of a stretch. I would tell everybody to work, if you've trusted a broker enough to write that business insurance for you, you should trust that broker enough to go to bat with the carrier to get at least a part of that claim paid. To me, that's an interruption in business, and that's what business continuity insurance is for. That would be my opinion.
That's great. Thank you.
Excellent.
I love when I don't have to talk about HR. What else can you hit me with?
You've been a lawyer, you've been an insurance agent. I'm loving it all.
It's just experience, that's all.
Chelsey, did you have any questions or kind of employment type questions you've been hearing from businesses downtown that Mindy could help us think through?
She's on mute.
A survey out right now to gather responses to see exactly, how we can best serve our businesses. And we're still kind of waiting to hear all of the feedback yet. And I can't say that there's anything in particular in that realm that has come up.
Gotcha. Excellent. Well, thank you, Mindy. I think we'll move along now to Jenn and Chelsey. Jenn, do you want to share a little bit about how things are going at the chamber, what y'all are doing, and what some resourceful or interesting things or solutions that y'all have been doing to help businesses stay open or kind of mitigate some of their losses?
Yeah, so I'm super proud of our businesses within the chamber. I've seen amazing creativity come out of our business owners and just our staff and the employees that work for our businesses. It's been so eye-opening and also just awesome to see everybody come together. A couple of businesses that I've seen really come out of the box and just kind of think outside and get creative with things. This morning I saw that Merck's has now moved tons of their tables outside to their parking lot. So now you can come and you can still get takeout, of course, on the side, but if you want to eat, you don't want to have to worry about the 10-person restaurant rule. You can sit outside and they'll serve you out there, and so that's really cool. Our teachers, this has really been amazing and just heartfelt for me to watch our teachers kind of come to grips with not being able to see their students. You know, everybody thinks teachers are kind of on a snow day right now, but our teachers are using Zoom, they're using Google Hangouts, they're using Facebook Lives, they are they're holding class with their kids, they are reading bedtime stories to their kids. That's been really neat to see. And it's also been really neat to see the kids react when they see themselves on a Zoom screen like the Brady Bunch and they see their friends after they haven't seen them in a week. That really has just kind of touched my heart a little bit and made me know that everything's going to be okay. I noticed that Pizza World has put together a pizza kit in a box. We're home, we're with our families, we're juggling kids and jobs, and instead of just doing your typical pizza delivery or takeout, they will actually bring you all the things and you can make pizza at home with your family. And they even provide you with the pizza box so it'll look like you had it delivered. And so that's been super cool to see. As far as what the Chamber is doing for its members, I'm the marketing director, so my expertise typically lie behind the computer, which is where I'm most comfortable. And in 2020, nobody talks on the phone anymore. So I really had to come out of my shell a little bit, and but I really feel like calling our members and really just touching base and hearing their voices is something that is important right now. And so I've been doing that. And it's been going really well. Like, people have really enjoyed hearing from us. I talked to Kirby Moore last night. He was walking and we talked while he was taking his walk, and we talked about how much 3rd Street Brewing Company misses him because he's part of the mug club and can't go in there and get his mug after work. And so just things like that that don't necessarily, I'm not helping his business, but just that personal connection. I think that we're all we're missing it a little bit, is important to think about. The other thing, of course, we talked about earlier is we have started a Facebook group, which gives people a little more of your undivided attention as opposed to a Facebook page. And the community seems to have jumped on that. Everybody is sharing everything. We're trying to keep it super organized by categorizing things so that if you go on there, you can say, I need educational resources, and push that button and all of that will come up so you don't have to sift through all of the chaos. We are highlighting Takeout Blitz right now, which has been really fun. People are sending me pictures of all their takeout food and people meeting them curbside and just really cheering on their local restaurants and celebrating, you know, their efforts to kind of stay open and serve us. So that's been fun. We are, today, my partner, Ann Tyler, is working on a website to do gift cards, which I think is going to be super important. It's going to be kind of a buy now, shop later, to kind of help keep some cash flow in our small businesses especially. So you'll be able to go on the site, you'll be able to buy a gift card, and even though you can't necessarily go in the store and buy that pair of shoes you want, you will have given them $50 for the gift card to have in their cash flow, and then you can go back in June and buy those shoes that you want. Or buy a gift, give a gift, right? Buy yourself a $50 gift card, give Sheri McGuire a $50 gift card. So, you know, a really neat way to just kind of be philanthropic, but also support our small businesses. And then the last thing I just want to touch on is we're getting ready to, you know, we launched Takeout Blitz this week. Next week, I think we're going to launch kind of a small business social distancing bingo game. And so it'll include things like like and share a Facebook page of a local small businesses. Do takeout, like just little things that you can do that aren't necessarily in person, but that you don't typically think about on the daily. Send a postcard, like Ilsa was saying, make a phone call, just kind of a business bingo where you can check off all the dots, kind of play a fun game, share it on Facebook, but also still connecting with those businesses that are really struggling right now and need us.
Jenn, thank you for sharing. I really appreciate it. I wanted to say goodbye to Mindy real quick. I know she has to jump off the call for another kind of round of activities. So Mindy, thank you again so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
It was my pleasure. I'm sorry I was too chicken to put an unmakeup Mindy on camera, but if you want to do a follow-up, I promise to be a little bit more prepared for a video recording then. Stay safe, everybody. Thank you for including me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's something I shared today. Was, this is a disruption and this is a real opportunity to innovate and try new things. And it's a real opportunity, or not opportunity, it's where a lot of us are going outside of our comfort limits in ways that we're not used to. And so I appreciate everyone being willing to take time for this call and some people's comfort levels and not others. So yeah, it's a good thing though. Jenn, those are some amazing ideas. I think especially the idea of helping companies that might not already have online gift cards or some way to do an online sales, the chamber facilitating that, right, to kind of help that start to happen for them, because it can be hard to get set up right away. I think that's a great idea. There are also for businesses out there like Instagram Shop or Shopify that are very quick, very simple ways to start getting some of your inventory online. And there are companies, I work with companies who do not have digital points of sales or even a fully synchronized way of tracking all their inventory. Like what's out is what's out. And there's ways you can quickly and easily start selling online, even just by taking and conserving some of your, let's say if you're open curbside, but you have resources to sell online, just setting aside the stuff that's available for sale online so you don't accidentally sell it in person, right? There's some simple hacks you can do that even if you don't think your company's ready for it, you can find ways to go online in very ingenious ways that sometimes are more authentic for your company than you would have thought of originally. So yeah, thank you for those ideas. I appreciate it. Sheri and Chelsey, do you have any questions for Jenn or thoughts about what she shared?
I think it's amazing.
Oh,
Chelsey's muted.
Sheri, I'll let you go first because Chelsey, you're muted. So,
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Sheri, what were you saying?
The idea of the gift cards and the website and what you guys are doing is amazing. It's a resource. So thank you for doing that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. Especially being from Farmville, just seeing all of how we come together in challenging times like this, and I mean that's nothing new, but I'm nothing short of amazed with my community. So I'm so proud of how our local businesses have come together and have done their part to adapt, because I mean that's the name of the game right now. It's all about how can we adapt, and so with FDP, what we have been trying to do is really just make sure that we're also reaching out to our businesses and in the form of gathering information to see kind of and assess what everyone's needs are. And of course, they're rapidly changing, but the survey that I mentioned that went out, we have a great response rate. So we're hoping to review all the responses soon to see specifically what we can do to help. In the meantime, we've just really tried to kick up our marketing of the businesses that are adapting and the different ways that they are adapting. I know North Street Press Club is providing a lot of to-go service, which is great, as well as Three Roads Brewing providing to-go beers, and other businesses as well. I know Greenfront has put out information about how they're taking those safety or adding on those extra safety measures to keep everyone safe during this time. Whatever we can do to highlight what businesses are doing to, stay afloat during this time. That's what we do through our Downtown Farmville Facebook page, as well as our Downtown Farmville Instagram, as well as partnering with the chamber and doing the social media takeout blitz. So encouraging takeout orders So all of that is what we're doing in the meantime. And we're here. So, you know, anytime a business wants to email or talk, we're available for that. So I do have to jump off the video, but I do thank you, especially for the flexibility. You know, I do have 2 little ones, a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. So it's also challenging for me to figure out how to navigate this time as well. But I do have to jump off to tend to them. So thank you, Ilsa, and thank you, Sheri. And, you know, if there's ever anything that FDP can do specifically, I just want to make sure everyone knows that we're here.
Thank you, Chelsey.
Thanks, Chelsey.
Having you on the call. Yeah, I think that's something I'd like to accentuate. What I hope you hear from SBDC and from the Chamber and from Farmville Downtown Partnerships, there's a willingness to figure out what the most useful thing is to do and the most helpful thing, even to communicate among ourselves so we're not duplicating services or being redundant in what we do. And so there is some coordination or synchronization around that, that's happening. I want everyone to be aware of. I know sometimes things are moving so fast, and because of the 24/7 news cycle, especially from our TV channels, news and things, it can feel like new news is coming out all the time. And so sometimes it can feel like organizations are responding too slowly. Like, well, I haven't heard anything from this organization or that. But what I want everyone to know is these organizations are thinking deeply about it, how to respond. Even with some of my clients, they didn't put out something on Monday or Tuesday, because they still had to figure out some operational things that would make the difference between this response or this response, right? So part of the reason some organizations aren't jumping in to contribute is because they're trying to figure out the most effective way to move forward, right? So, and also we've all got enough COVID-19 emails in our inbox at this point. So just know there's a lot of coordination going on with these organizations to find the best solutions and things like that. So I guess, it's my turn, isn't it? Yes, it is. So the thing I wanted to talk about just really quickly is just urging clients to really think about and businesses to think about how to make their communications more long-term around COVID. One of the things potentially to think about is making sure you actually have a COVID page on your website. That's a static page. It's something we built for SBDC. So they're not using their blog or another place where it's getting buried between other types of content. That way, especially now that we're going to be in this for, you know, a few weeks or months or who knows what it is, you can start doing some of your other types of contents or things that people will still find useful, and then do your COVID communication over here. And that way you can be hitting both at once, right? So the other thing is to really think about, and this I teach this in the Marketing 101 class, is with content marketing is the strategy that I tend to use. The whole motto of that is don't sell anything, just be useful. So really think about how can you be useful to your client right now? What's the most useful thing you can do, right? And so, for example, letterpress communications right now, we decided on like a quick spur of the moment call that we were going to do some content about remote working. And everyone's doing content about remote working right now. Like there's lots of that out there, but what we're doing uniquely is we're featuring each of our team members and each of them giving a tip, an image of them working from home, what that looks like. That's much more real, it's much more authentic. I'm not just sending out a checklist. We're actually talking about who we are, our interpersonal story as we're interacting with that. So thinking about being useful and then being authentic is really important. I've already held them up as an example earlier today, but I really appreciated Appomattox River Company's COVID-19 response. That was very authentic to who they were and what they believe in, and was authentic even about like, this is a day-to-day situation, but in a way that resonated, didn't just feel like a canned message. So this is, we now have to be able to connect directly with our customers or our clients digitally and via our communication that isn't face-to-face, and figuring out how to do that in a way that's truly authentic to who our company is going to be really important moving forward. So that being said, that's just general communications thoughts. But I would say also there are so many resources out there for ways to get, if you are a company that has in the past primarily relied on brick and mortar sales and you're seeing a huge your sales, and you're looking for ways to diversify or ways to go online, I would encourage you to reach out to your SBDC, to your chamber. These organizations have great ideas and resources, and there are things that you might feel like you're not ready for, but a lot of us are taking lots of leaps and lots of innovations very quickly right now, and some of them are bringing great and unexpected results. So I would encourage you to have courage with your marketing and communications as well as you move forward. So with that all being said, does anyone else have anything they want to share, or be good to go?
I think we're good. We do have lots of surveys out there on our Facebook and on our website, in particular for SBDC, about business needs. So please answer that if you come across it, because that will inform future sessions like this. And who knows, we may be venturing out into call-in sessions in the near future. So as we
absolutely
technology.
Also, just to touch on, there are so many people that are struggling right now and that are in need. And Ilsa will not toot her own horn, but I think when you are a business that that does still have a full staff and that is working right now, you don't always think about the philanthropic part of it. And Ilsa put together a website for our community in less than 48 hours to put resources together to help these people that really need help. And she did it all pro bono. And so just to reach out to those bigger businesses that can do that work and make sure that they know that there's room for them too, even if they're not necessarily in the struggling trenches with the small businesses, there's room for them to get out there and help, and it can be done.
Yeah, I think this is a great moment to really think about what our values are and think about conscientious capitalism. What does it look like to have a double bottom line? Right now, I know doing that philanthropic work was really important for me, for the community. I saw a need and I saw we could fill it, and I saw we could fill it quickly. But figuring out a way to do that sustainably so that all of my team and people stay employed, because the last thing we need is for letterpress to end up struggling and losing its employees too, right? So there's such a fine balance with that. And so I commend all the businesses out there that are working and trying to figure out that balance, how to walk that innovation and moving fast, not too fast, right? And what risks to take and where and when. The other resource I want to point out is, we mentioned the website and Facebook. SBC has a great email newsletter that normally just goes out about once or twice a month. It's probably going to start going out more frequently. The survey was sent out to all clients and previous clients. It's a very large mailing list on that. So making sure you also, when you go to the website, there's a quick and easy link to sign up for the newsletter for more information. The chamber also sends out a really fantastic community newsletter where they really kind of curate a lot of information at once that can go out. So you can also, whether you're a chamber member or not, you can sign up for their newsletter to their website as well. And I know at this point the chamber is working really hard to be a resource to all businesses. Of course, they're members, but they are working hard to be a resource for the entire community. So
absolutely.
Sheri, thank you for bringing us together and taking this time and this energy to say, we need to have this conversation.
Yeah, well, thank you. That's very helpful. And, lots of great ideas come from Ilsa. So.
Absolutely.
Some bad ones too, but that's what we gotta, one of the mantras we tell startups or young companies is you got to fail fast, right? You do a lean model, you find your minimum viable product, you put it out in the market and test it. And this is a moment with this disruption for us to all be ready to fail fast and experiment and innovate and be there for each other in the process, because what have we got to lose? Thank you, guys.